The President, Cyril Ramaphosa, will present the Presidency 2022-2023 budget vote in Parliament today. The funds will be detailed through a hybrid plenary session of the National Assembly. His budget speech coming amid mounting calls for him to step aside. This is to allow the law enforcement agencies to take course in the corruption allegations that are being leveled against the president. Ramaphosa is accused of concealing a robbery and theft of $4 million at his Phala Phala game farm in Limpopo. The former State Security Agency Director General, Fraser, also alleging that the president kidnapped, interrogated and paid the robbers to keep quiet. However, Ramaphosa has denied the corruption claims. He confirms that the robbery did take place and explained that the stolen money was from the proceeds of selling game. But many, including political analysts, have questioned the legitimacy of the president's statement. Let's continue the conversation now and speak to the spokesperson of the president, Mr. Vincent Magwenya, who talks to us from Cape Town. Mr. Magwenya, you are in Cape Town. Does that assume that President Ramaphosa will physically be present in Parliament during that budget vote?
Indeed, Toli, good morning, and good morning to your listeners. The President will be physically present in Parliament, presenting or tabling the Presidency budget vote at the Good Hope Chamber here in the Parliamentary precinct.
Any clues about how he plans to deal with the EFF? They've made it clear that the scenes we saw when his predecessor, President Zuma, was in power, many people would be forced out because of what they would chant at the time, which was to pay back the money. Is the president prepared for that kind of action?
Any undesirable behavior from any part of Parliament or opposition will be a matter for Parliament to deal with, and it will be for the Speaker to address that issue. For the President, he will be firmly focused at delivering the Presidency budget vote and explaining and reporting back on the role of the Presidency in leading economic reconstruction and recovery, as well as social transformation in the country.
Mr. Magwenya, the Hawks, that's the police's elite crime fighting unit, they've confirmed here at Newsroom Africa that they are pursuing allegations of corruption and money laundering that could have taken place at the president's farm. The president professes to be a person who is transparent about any matter. Does he not see it fit to step aside if such allegations are being investigated?
Toli, you've now received official confirmation that due process is underway on the matter. The president has committed his full cooperation with the investigations to be undertaken by law enforcement agencies. That commitment remains. While that process is underway, he will remain firmly focused on the task at hand, and he will not be distracted. He has not been charged of any crime at the moment. Therefore, the logic around stepping aside is not quite clear at the moment as to what purpose it will serve. And I will repeat that he remains firmly focused on the task at hand, and the commitment to cooperate with law enforcement agencies remains.
When you say he has received confirmation of what exactly, Mr. Magwenya?
No,
are you able to expand?
I was referring to the clips you played earlier on prior to our conversation, confirming that due process is underway. So therefore, there's not much we can say on the matter until such time there are formal engagements between the president and law enforcement agencies on the investigation that they're conducting.
All right, so that assumes at the moment that the president has not been called by law enforcement around this matter, nor is there any formal communication with the president by law enforcement.
As far as I understand, there has been no formal communication by law enforcement agencies directed at the president. You may have heard on the clip that you ran just a while ago that they referred to a preliminary investigation. So one will surmise then that they're going through their normal processes at the right time. They will be in contact with the office of the president.
Mr. Makwenya, is it possible for you to take the nation into the president's confidence about what the nature of the phone call between himself and President Hage Geingob of Namibia was? Because that president in Namibia now faces calls for him to step aside or step down because of his quote-unquote evasiveness. This is what the journalist from Namibia told us here at Newsroom Africa yesterday, that the president is facing mounting pressure for him to step down because of his evasiveness around the phone call he received from President Ramaphosa.
Colin, you are referring to one of the many details that will be possibly investigated during the course of the investigation. I therefore cannot get into those matters right now, except to say let's just be patient and allow due course to unfold and allow the president to cooperate as he has undertaken to do so, and allow the process to unfold. All of those answers will emerge at the right time when the investigations have been concluded. One appreciates the level of public interest in the matter. However, we have to constantly remind yourselves, as colleagues in the media, as well as the public, that there is a much larger task at hand for the president to lead us out of the effects of the pandemic, to lead us out of the stagnant economy that we've experienced. And that task remains primary, and that's where his focus will be. This matter is going to be attended to. The president will respond and cooperate with the investigations, and until such time that happens, you will find that we're not going to be available to comment on any detail related to the matter.
Perhaps as a parting shot, Mr. Makwenya, the president surely is worried about, on the one hand, the efforts to try and take South Africa out of the economic quagmire on the back of COVID-19, as you've just said, but there is potential instability that may ensue as a result of him remaining in office while at least one political party, which has in part been credited with the removal of the former president Jacob Zuma from office, that's the EFF, I'll be clear, that in a way seems to be a recipe for quite a longish instability every time that the president appears in Parliament at least, and you have heard them say that anywhere they meet him, they are going to make it uncomfortable for him. Doesn't that spell a bit of instability politically?
Maybe, Toli, I'll apply a slightly different choice of words and not use the word instability, and rather describe the kinds of scenes you've alluded to as theatrics, necessary theatrics that are aimed to undermine the constitutional rights of South Africans in hearing from their head of state account on the work of his office and administration. I will refer to those actions as theatrics that are aimed at undermining the president's constitutional obligation to fully account on the priorities that he has outlined during his SONA address. I wouldn't call it instability. It's not instability. We are referring to theatrics by a small group in Parliament that has made it its, I suppose, custom to disrupt parliamentary proceedings. Unfortunately, that's something that has been allowed to continue without any accountability being demanded. But nonetheless, that's not the president's concern. As I said, That's for Parliament to deal with, and that's for Parliament to manage. He's focused at the task at hand. And as far as I'm concerned, there is no emerging instability here. All we're referring to is a small group of people abusing the parliamentary platform by engaging in theatrics that achieve no particular objective at the end of the day.
In short, the EFF should stop with the theatrics.
Well, that's up to their leader and their leaders in Parliament. They must decide how they behave. The presidency budget vote is a constitutionally mandated event. The presidency sits at the apex of the executive. It's at the center of coordinating government activities. It has to fully account on its work, and it needs to be allowed to do so in Parliament.
All right. Mr. Makwenya, I appreciate that you speak for the President, particularly as it pertains to his official duties, but you are his spokesperson, and we're not going to avoid talking political issues here. How safe is he within his political party right now?
So why don't I leave that to astute observers such as yourself and others to analyze and engage on. You've summarized what my role is. I'll stick to my lane, as they say, and I'll leave those matters to those who observe them and who engage over them. I'm not qualified to engage on that one.
Vincent Makwenya, let me leave it there with you. Thank you very much for your time.